Hello, I'm Dr. Stephen Andrew Missick. I'm running for Texas State Legislature, HD 18, and yesterday was September the 11th, and we remember the terrorist attacks, the Islamist terrorist attacks on September 11th, 2001. And where were you? I happened to be in Damascus, Syria on that day. I just returned from Aramaic-speaking villages. And of course, that had a big impact on my life. Later, I had two deployments, 2003 and 4, and then 2009 and 10 to Iraq, where I served in the war on terror. So what happened yesterday is we had our meeting for the Republican Party in San Jacinto County at Coldspring. Last week, I went to the meeting of the Republican Party in Liberty, and this time I went to San Jacinto County, and it's very interesting. Our family estate is in Shepherd, Texas, which is in San Jacinto County. But the church, King of Saints Tabernacle, the church I pastor, is it's in the edge of Liberty County. It's in Liberty County, but right in the edge where Liberty and San Jacinto County meet. So I want to talk about the meeting we had yesterday and how it went. And it's very well attended. We have our little Republican headquarters. There's not really a large space. We probably had 50 people or more there, so the whole area was filled up, and it was basically standing room only. The interesting thing that happened yesterday was I was standing at the door, and they opened the door, and there's Morgan Luttrell. I said, "Hello, it's Morgan Luttrell. Well, it's good to have you here." Who is Morgan Luttrell? He is the congressman for this area, and he is the brother of Marcus Luttrell, the famous lone survivor who survived a ambush, an attack. The lone survivor, he had a team. He went out. They were trying to do a simple attack on a small contingency or whatever, small group of Taliban. It turned out there were hundreds of people there, and it was horrific. So I recommend watching the movie. I think they're from Huntsville area. So I haven't met Marcus Luttrell, but I met Morgan before when I was campaigning last time in the midterm elections 2022. So we had other candidates there besides me. There's a judge that was running, it's Judge Walker, and some other candidates. And the judge gave a speech about Christian values and believing in Jesus Christ. I thought that was wonderful, and how our nation needs a spiritual awakening. Janice Holt is running again, and of course I was informed that she's running again for the seat I'm after. In last week when I was at Liberty, I was told that she's running again. I was kind of surprised because she spent a lot of money on this campaign. This person told me she's running and says she's got her heart set on this House district. She wants it, and she thinks she's going to get it. But I was surprised with the midterm because there's a lot of unpopularity that Ernest Bales, the incumbent, faces. He does have his cult-like followers in Coldspring and in Cleveland. Probably people he's bought off. And people went to school with him and know him. That's why they don't care about his policies. But they vote him because they know him or they went to high school with him. So Ernest Bales he's got financing, he's got organization, he's got a network. But so does Janice Holt, and Janice Holt is from Hardin County, and I think she's from Silsbee. And I was surprised, honestly, with the race. We have 4 people. It was Ernest Bales, the incumbent, Janice Holt, and then this man named Toulos from Splendora, and me, the 4 of us. And it wasn't even close between. I was surprised. I thought that we could at least get Bales to a runoff, but he supposedly, you have to wonder about these things. I thought that it had been a runoff between Bales and Holt, but Bales had a very significant buffer margin where I think he got, if it's 52% or less, you go to runoff, but he had like 56 or something like that. So he's more vulnerable. I think she realizes this. I spoke to her. She's convinced that this time she's going to win, and Bales is vulnerable. So after Morgan Luttrell came and gave a talk, we had a question and answer session, and he talked about how he grilled Mayorkas. I wasn't too impressed with his performance grilling Mayorkas, and some of the things that Morgan Luttrell said kind of concerns me. Now he did mention, and this is a big issue. There's over 75,000, maybe as many as 100,000 or more illegal aliens, migrants in Colony Ridge, which is, the news reports say that it's basically that area is under cartel control. And of course, this is a huge burden. It's a huge burden for us because we have to build schools for these foreign nationals, these children. We have to educate them, and that means that we have to pay for all these school bonds. And one of the things that I'm going to work to do when I get elected is we're going to have to move mayoral and bond elections to the regular election day, and not have them, have these elections so people don't even know there's an election going on, so the community can be more involved in the election. It's having an election for mayor in May, and people are busy. People aren't engaged in politics the way they need to be. All these issues should be on the ballot during the national elections, because this is a way to pull things over on people. You're going to impose a bond on them, and some of these people live these busy lives, and they don't even know there's a bond coming up. Maybe they should, but I think it would empower more involvement if we made one election day, which is the first Tuesday in November, and that way people can be more engaged and involved. But people are talking, and they're very concerned about this hub, the largest hub of human sex, drug, and child trafficking right now in the nation is here out in the outskirts of Cleveland, and it's growing exponentially. And now when Bales goes around, at least last term when I was campaigning against him, he celebrates it. Oh, this is a great opportunity to the school unions or the teachers unions. He's out there. We need to. This is a great opportunity for us to build schools. We have the largest school district, the fastest growing, and Wayne Dolcefino did an investigative report on it, and Bales and Trey Harris. Bales. I mean, I've heard it from myself. He came to the Ministerial Alliance and admitted that he's involved in Colony Ridge Terrenos, and that he basically said he's their wingman in Austin. But people are very, very upset about it. Interestingly enough, Bales was not there yesterday. His wife was. One of his kids was. He seems like he has nice young men as his sons, and I wasn't even planning on running this time. And if I run a good campaign, even if I lose, I win, because I need to have exposure to the community because of some vicious, vile, and untrue attacks that came against me from Ernest Bales. So I feel like I'm obligated to run against him, and I'm going to. And if he's going to attack me, attack my patriotism and my loyalty to this country, then I'm going to attack his record. He's supposed to be pro-life. He has a pro-abortion record, at least his first term in office. He's always working with the Democrats. He's not good on the border. I mean, he's transformed our district to a sanctuary city. So I have to fight back against what Bales has done, what he's doing to our community, and vicious personal attacks against me. I'm looking at what happened, and it's like I'm obligated to run again. I got to stand up for myself. I got to stand up for my community against this man. I mean, he'd won. I don't know why he's doing these things to me. I mean, he won his re-election bid, and yet he's making these vicious attacks against me. So I gotta stand up for myself, and I gotta stand up against him for the community. The people of this community are being hurt by his policies. But people there at this meeting were very concerned about Colony Ridge, Triana, Houston, and they are correct to know that these problems outside of Cleveland are not going to stay in Cleveland. They know this is going to grow exponentially, and Triana, Houston is going to engulf our entire House district. So I mean, the fact of the matter is, like, if you're concerned about that, you need to come to me, because I will take a stand against it. The thing that concerned me about Morgan Luttrell, one of the things he said, he said that he took a helicopter and he looked at what's going on at Triana, Houston. He flew a helicopter over and he's going to talk to the governor about it. It's horrific. It's really bad. And the people there's a shanty town. People there are living in squalor. It's riddled with crime, murder, drug cartel activity. It's horrible. And then they're doing environmental destruction there, where they did not have a proper drainage system, and it's polluted. There's garbage all over the place, human waste, trash. It's disgusting. And I'm sure that, I drove around there and I could see for myself. It looks like, I've been around the world doing mission work, and it's like going to, look, I love Uganda. I love India. I love these countries. And I'm not trying to disparage them in any way, but you'd think we'd have a higher standard of living here in the United States and see third world standards in America, and this area, Shantytown and Squalor, here outside of Cleveland. It's the people there are being exploited. They don't like it. I've talked to the Hispanic community and people I know who've engaged that community, and they feel like they're being exploited. And now we have dangerous killers coming out, murdering people in our community. So I'm glad Morgan Luttrell's tracking the situation. I'm glad he's going to go to Austin to talk to the governor about it. The problem is, what I'm concerned about, is that the governor, he receives campaign donations from Trey Harris. What does that mean? I don't know. It's something to be concerned about. I support Governor Abbott. I'm glad he's the governor, not Abbott, not a Beto. And he's doing good things for our state. But we need more action on the border. I believe that we need to declare an invasion on our border, like Curry Lake was going to do. And that's why they stole that election from her. But we need more aggressive action. I think that busing the migrants to the sanctuary cities like New York and Chicago obviously has been a very good strategy, and it's producing results that we need, where finally these hard leftists are seeing the problems and the challenges and the struggles and the burden and the drain in the infrastructure that millions upon millions, we've probably had 25 million illegal aliens, or at least 10 to 12 come across since Biden took office. Probably, I'd say we'd have 12 to 25 million illegal aliens already, and we're going to get 10 more in this final year of office of his. And what's going to happen to our nation if if he continues this? I don't believe the guy's going to be. I don't believe he's elected in the first place. I don't believe he's going to be reelected legitimately. So what are we going to do if this man refuses to leave power and somehow maintains control in 2024, or the party he represents, or the person he represents, Barack Hussein Obama? He'll be starting his 5th term in office. So Morgan Luttrell, he was talking about his exchange with Mayorkas. When I was watching that exchange, it's like, we need to pray for Morgan Luttrell. But my impression of that exchange is he's not ready for prime time. That's what they used to call the actors in Saturday Night Live. We're the not ready for prime time players. And that seems like that's what Morgan Luttrell is. He cannot, I don't know why, he cannot see Mayorkas for what he is. Mayorkas needs to be impeached. It's like, I talked to Mayorkas and he said that barriers don't work. But offhand, I talked to him in private and he said barriers do work. This is a political thing. Mayorkas is breaking the law. He's an enemy of the United States. He's implementing their strategy to change the demographics of this country so you have one party rule, and he's a Marxist. This guy's a dangerous person. He's dishonest. He's corrupt. And I don't know why Morgan Luttrell cannot see Mayorkas for what he is when it's perfectly obvious. And I pray that God would open his eyes. So there's also concern about January 6th, and this is another concern about Marcus Luttrell. someone says, well, what's going on? You know, you have these people at January 6th, they just went to the Capitol, they peacefully protested, and you got people getting, for instance, there's a man who killed a young man. He thought he was a Republican. It just was in the news a couple of days ago. This murder took place 2 or 3 years ago. So this man in his 40s, early 50s, he saw a young man in his early 20s, and for some reason he thought that that young man was a conservative Republican, and he murdered him. And this man he's received like 5-year prison sentence for murder. And yet, at the same time, we have people who weren't even at January 6th who have received 18 to 20 years sentences. And there was a mother, an elderly mother, and her son who were waved into the Capitol by Capitol Police and escorted in. They went inside, they looked around, they went out. They were in there for less than 5 minutes, and yet they're receiving 5 years. This is an injustice. They're talking about these people need to be given amnesty and pardons. And my impression is that Morgan Luttrell says, I got the video of January 6th. You can come up there to D.C. You can come up to D.C. and look at it. I might take him up on that offer. I want that footage because we know for a fact that there were dozens at least of federal agents, FBI agents, who were dressed as Trump supporters. That's found in some of the court recordings, and that where they admit that in their filings. They admit that there were dozens of FBI agents, and there's been they confronted Christopher Wray about this, and he won't deny it. So how many were there exactly, and what were they doing? I wouldn't be surprised if there were not hundreds. At least, I would say there's at least 100, if not hundreds, of FBI agents and Capitol Police officers dressed up as Trump supporters. What were they doing? Who were these people? These people need to be discovered, exposed, and interrogated to find out what was going on. Seems to me that I believe there's a FBI criminal conspiracy, that the violence was not perpetuated by the Trump supporters, but is organized and carried out as an FBI operation. Am I wrong? I don't think I am, but let's do an investigation and find out. What will we find? There's no serious investigation about this issue has been done, but you have to have a discerning eye, right? Think about Tucker Carlson saw the video. He saw things that concerned him. He saw some suspicious activity. He saw certain things that people were doing that made him think that they may have been FBI agents. Because he was exposing January 6th, he was fired from Fox News. And I encourage you to watch the interview that he did with the chief of Capitol Police, who was a straight arrow, clean cop, and so he was out of the loop. And there's certain things that were going on that he was talking about that don't make sense unless this was an FBI operation to create a narrative. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to create a narrative of insurrection. And we haven't been, as conservatives, we have not been reacting to it or fighting back. I mean, Fox would not allow Dinesh D'Souza. He used to be on Fox all the time. And then it's, okay, you have a movie showing voter fraud, 2,000 Mules. And so they don't want to come on their network and talk about it because they're in on it. They're in on the false January 6th narrative. They fired Tucker because he's punching holes in it. And they're in on election fraud in 2020. So Marcus Luttrell's like, oh, you can come, you can look at the video. There's some, I mean, if people were doing things illegal and engaging in violence, of course, I 100% support them being, depends on the level of what they're doing, right? But if they're actually committing, destruction of property and things like that. Well, Ted Cruz asked the FBI, was it Jill Sanborn? It's like, were FBI agents instigating violence, encouraging violence? Did they break things? Were FBI agents? And she replied, well, I cannot comment on that matter. Well, why not? The answer, as I think it's Clay Higgins, is that his name? There's certain congressmen who are, not that many, tackling this issue. But Morgan Luttrell seems to think that these incidents represented the rank and file of Trump supporters. So let's go back to this event. So they serve us food. I'm sitting down. Actually, I'm eating, and they start bringing up the candidates. First, Judge Walker, Justice Walker is what he calls himself. He gives a good speech. There are other different candidates. Somebody running for constable, and then Janice Holt. Janice Holt didn't really. I was kind of surprised she didn't really speak that long. Just a couple of minutes. She said she had her card there, and if you want information, you talk to her. And she mentioned she was running for HD18. And then finally I went up because, I've already put out I'm running for HD18. I'm there, and I stated I was running. And the lady that's kind of the director of the Republican Party in Coldspring, oh, Dr. Missick, I didn't see. So let me recreate my speech. So I come up. Of course, I wasn't dressed in a t-shirt. I was dressed a little bit nicer. Probably not nice enough, but neither were the other people. So it's kind of casual. So I said, I'm Stephen Missick. I'm running for HD18, and I mentioned I have 30 years in military service, 2 combat deployments to Iraq. I have 3 years, actually 4, on the border mission. And it says, I know the border area very well. I lived there for over 3 years, and I know what we need to do to, I said, support our border communities, which is true, but also to secure our border. And I mentioned, I mentioned, it's like if you watch the news, I say, if you watch the news, you know that we, here in the state of Texas, in Austin, we have a rhino problem. And I said, right now, our freedom of speech and our freedom of religion are under attack. Fundamentally, I believe that the problems our country faces are spiritual in nature. I'm a pastor King of Saints in Cleveland, Texas. And America needs to get back to Jesus Christ, back to God, back to our biblical foundations. But we have to be involved in politics because we need people in Austin who are fighting to protect our liberties so we can share the gospel and live out our faith, because our faith and our ability to declare our faith are under attack. It's a very serious time. And I want to say something else. I support our president, Donald J. Trump, and the Make America Great agenda. And then I mentioned, once again, it's like we had an earlier speaker, I think it's Judge Walker, and what he said about spiritual renewal and turning to Christ. I think that was great comments. And so at that, I took the microphone and I was going to give it to, he was already designated as the next speaker to Morgan Luttrell, but then the Republican lady wanted to give him a t-shirt, a little event for him. So interestingly enough, I went and I sat down, and I'm drinking my sweet tea in the other room where you can't really see, because you have the large room and they have tables around, and they have like a dining room in the back. So I had a seat at the dining room because there's I already had my plate, but I had to come up and talk about my running for office. So this is weird. Morgan Luttrell actually, he starts making a dig at me. But I was eating, and it's like I couldn't really respond to it. And if I was standing up there next to him, I wouldn't have been able to respond to it either. Probably could have, but I don't know if it would have been appropriate. He's like, I want to tell you should not be watching the news. It's like, well, it depends on what news you're watching. So you're talking about watching CNN or Fox or MSNBC or the Houston Chronicle, other outlets. I'd agree with you on that. The funny thing is he put his foot in his mouth, because later on, when people were asking him questions, it's like, did you watch on the news? I want you to watch on the news. So, for some strange reason, he's making a dig at me. Now, why would Morgan Luttrell take a dig at me like that? Maybe he was offended at my comment about rhinos in Austin. It's the only thing I could think about. But anyway, why is Morgan Luttrell congressman in this district? Because he had some good competition. And actually, there was a debate against Houlihan, and Morgan Luttrell did not perform very well on the congressional candidate debate among the leading Republican contenders. So, why is he, that being the case, why is he the congressman? Because he's sort of a celebrity. He's the identical twin brother of Marcus Luttrell. So it doesn't matter, right, how articulate he is. I mean, he's also a SEAL, and he has military service. exemplary military service. So did Houlihan. Houlihan wasn't a SEAL; he's a JAG officer, but he's much more of an intellectual and much more aware of what's going on in D.C. than Mark Luttrell is. So it's kind of unfortunate. I'm not saying, Morgan Luttrell. I'm not saying Morgan Luttrell's a bad person. I'm not trying to disparage his character or his military service or anything like that. I just think that Houlihan was a better candidate and is more equipped to lead. And we need fighters. That's what I said when I gave my brief campaign speech. We need fighters in the State House and in Washington, because our nation's under attack. It's very important for us to fight back. So I did have polite conversations with Janice Holt, and I told her I intend to win. She's in her mind, she's convinced she's got it this time. But like I said in the previous, when I talked about what happened in Liberty, where we censured Dave Phelan, the legislative speaker of the House was censured by Liberty County Republican Party, as he should be, because he's a rhino. But the fact of the matter is, as I mentioned in that video, Ernest Bales is more vulnerable during this election than he's ever been before. More susceptible to defeat. So why is that? Because it's a presidential election. Because he's a liberal. He might put signs that he's a conservative Republican, but he's a Democrat who runs on the Republican ticket. I think people are more aware of what he's done, especially with the impeachment fiasco of Ken Paxton, which is detrimental to our country. But there's a lot of factors going into making him. We've got, like I said, it's a presidential election. More people are going to be voting. Probably this is going to be a Trump election. He's not a conservative. He's not a Trump person at all. And that's part of the reason why I was campaigning. I gave his campaign speech. I'm a Trump, which is true. I'm a MAGA Republican. But he's vulnerable. A lot of people are upset, especially when this person comes out of the borders of the colony in Cleveland, very close to Colony Ridge. You have an illegal alien, most likely a cartel member, going around killing women and children. That's going to alarm people, and many people know that Ernest Bales is involved. He's Trey Harris's wingman in Austin, and they want what's going on in Colony Ridge to stop. Of course, Ernest Bales doesn't want it to stop because he wants to grow the schools, build more schools so he can make more money, and further the CRT Teachers Union's agenda. So, as I mentioned, Ernest Bales wasn't there, but his wife was. And when people were complaining, maybe she's like an actress, people were complaining about what's going on in Terranos, Houston, Colony Ridge, this hub of illegal immigration. She started nodding her head and had a sad look on her face. I was like, don't give me that crap. You know what's going on. I've heard your husband admit to his support of that. I've been at your campaign speeches. I've heard his support for it. The demographic change, which he thinks is enriching our community, and is going to empower the teachers unions. I mean, he's open about that if you actually listen to his speeches. But like I said, a lot of people don't listen to. They're not engaged. Just think about it. People are going to sit down and listen to the congressional debate. Oh yes, they voted for Houlihan, but you got the name recognition. The lone survivor's identical twin brother. And not only is he the lone survivor's identical twin brother, but he's also a SEAL and a military hero. So that's it. That's the way the populace is going to think about it. And the other thing is, the reality is most people are going to vote in a presidential election don't know who Ernest Bales is. They have no idea. And you people out there, this is true. You got to vote for the president, or maybe your president, the governor, your senator, your congressman. I need to vote for this senator. Like, just say, for instance, Beto's been out there. I think Beto's finished, but anyway, Beto is running against Ted Cruz. So you're going to go to the election. It's like, we don't want Beto in there. Beto's bad. He's a Marxist. He's a weirdo. He's a bad guy. So I'm going to go. Cruz has been great. He's been a hero. He's a champion. best senator out there, which I agree with. It's not perfect, but I support Ted Cruz. I was going to support him for president, actually. So it's like, we got to keep Beto out. We got to get Cruz in. So you go in there and I'm going to vote for Ted Cruz. And then you see like 30 other people you're voting for. And it's like, who is this person? It's like, I came here to vote for Ted Cruz, and I don't even know who these people are. That's the challenge that Ernest Bales is going to face. He can put all these signs up. When it comes down to it, I mean, a lot of people don't know who their congressman is, much less their state legislator. So he's vulnerable, and I don't know. She's got her Janice Holt's got her heart set on this seat, but I think I don't see her. If she was going to win, she would have done a lot better the last time she ran, because she ran a very effective campaign. She had signs all over the place. She had a whole bunch of mail outs. She'd go to these events. In my view, she's a moderate Republican, and I want to win. I'm going to win. But if I don't win, and it's between Janice Holt and Ernest Bales, Bales is a Democrat who runs on a Republican ticket. Janet Holt is a moderate, probably left of center Republican. What concerns me about her is she's too tight with the teachers' unions, like Bales is. We need to support our teachers. We need to support our education of our young people. We need to support school choice. But we got to open our eyes. I mean, people around the country, parents around the country are very concerned about Marxist indoctrination going in our public schools. We have to confront the issues. If we have the opportunity, the opening to do that, we need to do it, instead of just kowtowing to these educational institutions that are controlled by left-wingers. So if you look at our district, we have Cleveland, and then Splendora, and then you got Liberty and Dayton, and then we have Coldspring. It's not really that far from Cleveland, and Shepherd. And over here we have Hardin County, where you got Kuntz, Silsbee, Lumberton, Sour Lake. There's some other places that I'm going to go to. I've been to most. Unfortunately, I didn't get to Sour Lake. I will this time, but I've been to all these places. So we look at this. She's from Silsbee. They're going to vote the hometown girl. I'm from Shepherd, but I went to high school I went to middle school and high school in Sugar Land. So I grew up. I'm born in Kentucky. Grew up in Tennessee, and when I was in 5th grade, I came down to Texas, where I'm in the Richmond-Rosenberg Sugar Land area. That's where I grew up, and then go off the Army, and I come back at about 20 years old up to Cleveland, and my father got this property in Shepherd, and that's where my residence, Shepherd and Cleveland. I have a church, but the advantage that Ernest Bales has is he's lived here his whole life. Now. And he's got people he knows, he's got his network. So he's not going to, he's going to campaign out there, but I don't think he's got people in Liberty County passionately hate Ernest Bales. So he's not going to get these people to vote for him. I can win in that area. But he has his little area in Coldspring and Shepherd and Cleveland. People in Splendora probably don't like him too much either, because they're getting hit by Colony Ridge. So he's vulnerable in a lot of ways, Bales is. But he does have his network, he has his organization, he has his money. Now it came out yesterday, I was talking to people. Not a good sign for him. I went down to Coldspring. Sorry, not to Coldspring, I'm talking about Liberty last week. And everybody there hates Ernest Bales because he's a rhino. That's how they perceive him. And somebody said, Ernest Bales actually came here. He said, really? And we started asking about his voting record. And he went into a rage, started throwing things around. That's how they're describing, maybe they're exaggerating a little bit. Storms out the door, slams the door, wham! Gets in his car and speeds off, screeching his tires, screwing the tires, and throwing rocks all over the place for his tires. It just speeds off real quick. in a rage because they asked him, it's like, okay, you say, you put on your sign you're a conservative Republican. This is your voting record right here. I mean, you're voting with the Democrats on abortion your first term in office, and you're giving them the committee seats here. Well, why are you doing this? This is your voting record, isn't it? So, anyway, that's what they said. I wasn't there to see that, but that's the story they said. So anyway, I go to Coldspring yesterday, and this young man. People were talking to Janice Holt more than me. A lot of people, of course, were talking. He's going to be the main attraction. I did engage a lot of the people there before the event started. People that knew me, I talked to them. Very polite. But it's not like I had crowds of people. I did have some people that were very interested. They took a lot of my literature. So, but then people were there to meet their friends more than somebody they don't know that well. And they might have decided they're going to vote for Bales or Holt anyway. But it's good that I got in there. Like I said, this man has made vicious attacks on my character. So I have to respond to it. I need to be in front of Bales, in front of these people, saying I'm not a dangerous person or a terrorist extremist the way that Ernest Bales is trying to portray me to be. So there's a pathway to victory for me, and there's a pathway to victory for Janice Holt. I imagine, if I was, there's a pathway for Janice Holt, if I was Ernest Bales, probably feels like he's got his money, he's got his organization, he probably feels like he has it tied up, and probably doesn't see his vulnerabilities as bad enough to. He's got to know that people aren't even going to know who he is when to go to vote. So we'll see. How long can he portray himself as a Republican, conservative Republican, when he does things outlandish like vote to impeach a conservative warrior like Ken Paxton? So he's made some mistakes, tactical errors, missteps. So we need to exploit it. Janice Holt and I. And like I said, I wasn't even really seriously planning to run until I realized that I have to. And the thing is, if I get to Austin, I'm not playing games. We're going to implement a conservative agenda and stand up for Texas values and for the people of this county and this House district and their best interest. And secure the border, stop human drug, sex trafficking, confront. This needs to be brought under control. It's right as Houston. If I had my way, I'd totally close it down. At least stop it. But it's growing exponentially. We need somebody to stop it. There's other issues that neither one of these candidates are going to, either Janice Holt or Ernest Bales, are going to deal with. Like I said, education choice, school choice. I don't think Janice Holt, we'll see. I don't think Janice Holt is going to support school choice. One of the issues that people had in Liberty is that they're saying Ernest Bales, bad guy. It's like, why is he winning? Why? Because he has all his money. Who's his two sole constituents? The teachers' unions and I guess the ranchers too, because he comes from agricultural background and ranching and livestock breeding. That's where he made his money, inventing a machine that forcibly extracts breeding samples from male livestock. So he's got his patent on that. He's probably wealthy, independently wealthy. So anyway, I'm going to finish this thought. So I'm talking to this man. He's just hating on Ernest Bales, and Ernest Bales' wife walks in. She walks past us because we're sitting outside in the chair. I got Barron with me. And, he's like, Ernest Bales is blah, 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 blah. He's this, that, and the other. And I said, you realize that was his wife that just walked in there. I don't care. I'm a straight shooter. I call it the way I see it. Ernest Bales is a dirtbag. I'm going to say he's a dirtbag. I'll say it to his face. I'll say it to his wife's face. And it's like, okay. I try to be a little bit more tactful, but, if you're a straight shooter, it's good for you. So there's a lot of opposition even in Coldspring. Can he count on all the educators to get him in office? Their numbers are going to be diluted. this election. It's not a midterm, it's a presidential election. But Holt is also supporting the same, to my knowledge, as she did last time, the same teachers union agenda that Ernest Bales is. But like I said, I mean, I don't agree with her on that, but she'd be a lot preferable to Ernest Bales. But this, I've said this a lot, this isn't a game, this is very serious. And the other thing, if you watch my other video in Liberty, we're talking about Texans for fiscal responsibility. And we need to reduce our property taxes. And the best way to do that is just to abolish property taxes altogether. And then people are saying, well, how are you going to pay for education? They can allocate funds differently. The funding is available in there. There's no reason for us to, this is exploitation. We have these exploitative property taxes. It's oppressive. It's a form of oppression. And we need to tackle the seriously, because these people, they're playing games in Austin. This is a situation we need relief. We need from excessively high property taxes. We actually need to abolish it. So what they might do is they might do a state income tax. We don't need a state income tax either, but this property tax is exploitative. It needs to be addressed. So I do believe that 2024 election is very serious. It's going to determine the future of our country. It might be too late. I mean, with as many as 25 million illegal aliens coming into our country, and just the burden they place on our communities and our infrastructure, our resources, we can't afford it. And we shouldn't have to. These people aren't here illegally. They're not citizens of our country. I mean, their countries should be providing them with education and health care, not us. It's not fair, and it's illegal. They're exploiting the system. They're breaking the law, and they're making false asylum claims. And Trump secured the border. Another thing that I was wanted to stand up and say this, Merlin Luttrell's like, oh, I'm so confused. What do we do about the border? I don't know. Once they're here, it's not a border problem, it's an immigration problem. I don't know how to solve the problem. I got to think about it. Real hard. That's the thing. I was at the border. I was going to stand still. I was at the border. You build a wall. The communities want a wall. I think I did make that comment. I support the wall, and the communities down there want the wall. And so the other thing is you end catch and release. I saw it. I was there. We had these huge migrant caravans. Then Trump says we're going to pull out the Flores Agreement, which is catch and release, and pull out the Flores Agreement. We're going to have a remain in Mexico policy. It was a barrage. We're overwhelmed with migrants. Once they ended the Flores Agreement, they stopped doing catch and release, and they had remain in Mexico. It was a trinkle. In fact, the border was secured so effectively that they ended the border mission. It was Operation Guardian Support. They ended it. And now we got Operation Lone Star, started a few months later, because once Biden came into power, he just destroyed everything Trump did and just released havoc and chaos on our country. And we're a nation in decline. And see, that's the thing about it. We don't need self-serving politicians. We need people that love our country, that care about it, that are willing to fight for our country and stand up for the values that make Texas great. Because we cannot endure. This is what's going on under the Biden administration. It is destroying our country, and it's unsustainable. So, I have a plan. I have a path for victory, and I have a plan. And one of the things you do is you make adjustments to your plan as you go along, as you see opportunities. That's what all good tacticians do. So actually somebody came to me from the TDCJ or TDC and says, we have tens of thousands of people that work in the prison system in this area. And here are our concerns. And I said, I worked in corrections as a correction officer, so I can relate to those people. And I could probably get a lot of votes from them as well. But we'll see how this pans out. Like I said, as long as I go out in front of people and campaign effectively and well, it's a win for me. And if I actually win this election, it's what's best. It'd be good for me, I guess, but it's really what's best for our community, for the Republican Party, where you have somebody that's going to fight for conservatism. I talked to Janice Holt about, like I said, I don't I have a personal, I admit it, I have a personal grievance with, not just a personal, but policy grievance with Ernest Bales. But the Bible says, you should love everybody and live in peace as much as possible with all people. Sometimes you can't live in, sometimes you got to stand up for yourself and fight back. But like I said, it's not just about me, it's about the community as a whole. And the problems and difficulties and challenges we face, some of these which are foisted upon us by the bad policies of Ernest Bales. But I was talking to Janice Holt, and I said, I don't understand about Bales. I mean, at least if you're going to run a Republican ticket, you should vote in Austin as a Republican, support the Republican Party. He won't even do that. And while I was there, at this event, someone came up to me. He says, "I'm going to tell you something about Ernest Bales." He said, "He was a Democrat." What? At one time, he was a Democrat. It's like, well, that doesn't surprise me. I tell you something that I know. I guess you've known him for a long time. You live in this community, and he was a avowed Democrat just a few years ago. Let me tell you something. He's actually a Democrat now. He's a Democrat now. He says, yeah, down here you have these blue dog Democrats, and I guess they've seen the writing on the wall, so even though the Democrats are switching parties so they can win these elections. And I said, that's what Bales did. Sometimes I'm going to be nice. I'm not going to call Janet Holt a rhino, because I think she is a moderate left of center Republican. But Ernest Bales is a Democrat running on the Republican ticket, and his record needs to be exposed. And he has these vulnerabilities this time, and we need to exploit them. And like I said before, unless there's criminal there very well may be. If he's involved in crimes in Terranos, Houston, and we look into that, well, that's on him, if he's committed criminal acts and is involved in criminality over there, which I don't know for certain. I think it needs to be looked into. But if he loses the election, it's no loss to him. The guy's independently wealthy from the lands he's inherited and the royalties he made from his semen extraction device. So he's not going to do him any harm. Just have more time to spend with his, of course, being in the Texas State Legislature is just a part-time, every other year, a few months, part-time job. So he's able to spend time with his family and his job anyway, because it's not a full-time occupation. But he'll have even more free time, to enjoy his wealth and his family time if he's removed for office. And I think he needs to be. He needs to be removed from office. And like I talk to people there, it's like, look, just the pro-life issue alone. If he was pro-abortion and he saw the error of his ways, and he started, it's like I had an epiphany. I was pro-abortion, and now I see, and now I'm going to vote pro-life. I'd respect that a lot more than being pro-abortion and then, just for political purposes, lying about it, claim you're pro-life falsely, and then going to Austin and thinking people aren't going to pay attention and voting to support abortion. But then getting exposed and then realizing it's like, okay, they're shining a light on me. I can't do this. I'll lose the election. So I have to make sure I have a clean voting record. He actually went and tried to erase his right to, it's all documented by Texas Right to Life. But he was actively promoting abortion. Texas Right to Life exposed him for it. So he went back and he erased all of his from the legislative record. Yeah, they have the right to do that. People in the state legislature have they have the right to alter the information about themselves and their statements in the official record. It's true in Congress. It's true in the State House here. So it's not illegal what he did. It's unethical, dishonest. But he went and purged the legislative record of his after it was already exposed. So someone said, I'm going to say this in conclusion. It's like, it's his wife. It's his wife. She's a liberal. Ernest Bales is a Democrat. I mean, you just told me a few years ago he's a Democrat, now he's claiming you're a Republican. So how much could it be his wife? I'm perhaps. It's like she's in the teachers' unions. They want those new schools built. They want to indoctrinate kids in CRT, critical race theory, and Marxism, and she's bearing down on him to make sure that he's a good liberal. It's her doing, her conniving. She's a Jezebel. It's like, I don't know if she's a Jezebel or not. She is in education. And he's in he's a minion, he's a toady of the left-wing CRT spouting teachers unions. So, or teachers' organizations, whatever you call them. So, this is a serious time for our country, and please vote. And vote for me, where we'll get somebody who can seriously tackle this issue. Now, Ernest Bells, I don't think he has any political qualifications to be a legislator. What is he? You know, he invented a machine for livestock breeding. That's his life's accomplishments. He's in agriculture. I mean, it's important, the agriculture community, we need to support them, what they do, but that doesn't give him any unique skills to serve in the Texas State House. Look at Janice Holt. She's always in Austin. She's very aware of what goes on there. That could be bad, though, right? That could mean that she's like because we have a swamp in D.C. and we have a swamp, obviously a really bad swamp, here in Texas in Austin. Is Janice Holt a swamp creature? Maybe. I don't know. Like I said, she doesn't seem to be a bad person, but she's a moderate Republican. I think we can do better. You need to see, I picked up this flyer there, and someone said, if you believe in freedom, you believe in the Constitution, you believe in freedom of speech, freedom of religion, there's only one Liberty Party. That's the Republican Party. Look at what the Democrat Party is now. It's a Marxist, totalitarian, statist organization that's imperiling our survival in the future as a nation, as a free country. And when you look at 2024, look at what's going on with the FBI. Dinesh D'Souza's got a movie coming out called Police State. And if we don't defeat the Democrats in 2024, that's what we have to look forward to. Criminally prosecuting Donald Trump on trumped up, baseless, absurd charges. The same thing they do with Ken Paxton. I got this text. This is what, dirt on Ken Paxton. It's all frivolous nonsense. It's frivolous nonsense. And then they had this video Dr. Steve Turley put up. It was actually from the proceedings. It's like, so you went to, they're asking one of these Bush people, who were, people going out against Ken Paxton. It's like, well, we had a good faith feeling that what Ken Paxton did we believed within our hearts, without evidence, but within our hearts sincerely, we believe Ken Paxton was corrupt, so therefore we're going to impeach him. We don't have any concrete evidence. So it's like, you're telling me, yes or no, did you go to the FBI without evidence, telling the FBI that they need to do an investigation on Ken Paxton, see if they can dig up dirt? Is that what you did? No evidence whatsoever, just baseless? Yes. Well, I didn't want to say it. No. Oh, we sincerely believed in our heart of hearts that, yes, we had this good faith, belief that Ken Paxton. Okay, so you went to the FBI, which is a corrupt political Democrat. It's the goon squad Democrat Party. You went to the FBI against Ken Paxton without any evidence. Okay, have you accumulated any evidence now? No, we didn't have any evidence then. We don't have any evidence now, but we're impeaching this guy. So now, that's how they're playing. It's lawfare. So they're doing their president right now. It's President Trump, and that's going to be the normal thing. Don't just think that this is just Trump. Trump is a special case. No, all Republicans are going to be treated like this in the future, unless we punish them. We have to punish them in 2024, so this never happens again. And the other thing is we have to confront the reality of Obama pulling the strings. And they have to find some way to get Obama to retire from politics. And this is going to be, no president has tried to do this before. And it's a danger to the survival of our republic. And the funny thing is, we as Republicans, will America survive 2024? We will not survive with Democrat control. We're going to become a totalitarian Marxist police state. It's already begun. But the Democrats, they're, we're not going to survive. They're saying the same thing. And it's very dangerous for both sides to be, the Republicans, if Trump gets back in the Republic is over, there will be retribution for what they did. But the fact of the matter, just imagine that if Trump cleans out the FBI, cleans out the federal bureaucracy, holds people, does pardons for all the January 6th peaceful protesters, exposes what happened January 6th, exposes voter fraud in 2020. Just say he does all these things, and pushes back the left-wing agenda, pushes forward conservatism. Is that going to be the end of the Democratic Party? I wish it would be the end of the Democrat Party. That'll be a big loss for them if Trump gets in. Their agenda will be pushed back. at least 4 to 8 years. What they're trying to do, they'll go back instead of forward on their Marxist agenda. But they're still going to be around, unfortunately. I mean, they control the news media, they control our colleges and universities, they control our educational establishment, even the public schools, state schools here in Texas and Tennessee and other places. They just don't respect that when it's elections you win and lose. They can't accept a defeat. And that's the dangerous problem that we face, is that the Democrats aren't respecting. Like, I remember when Obama was in office, I respected the fact that he was in the position of President of the United States. I thought his policies was terrible. He's a bad person, but I respect, I'm not. It's like, okay, he's President of the United States. I respect that, but as a citizen, I'm going to work to speak out against his destructive agenda, and I'm going to organize and vote to stop what he's doing to hurt our country. And all these Democrats, it's your patriotic obligation and duty to support Obama, especially since he's got this historic presidency. He's actually biracial, the first black president. And it's like, look, that's good to have, a black person. He's a bad president. I don't care what racial or nationality or ethnic background he has. He's a bad president. But all these Democrats, you got to support, the office, no matter what. He's the president. And then Trump comes into power. Do they respect the office of presidency? They respect him? Do they give him the deference and the respect that he's due? No, they don't. It's no matter what, they have to destroy him because he represents an obstacle to their agenda of totalitarian control to create a new serfdom, this Marxist system, which has destroyed every nation that's been implemented. So we're in a dangerous place in our country. You have to win this election, and it's going to be ugly. It's going to be an ugly year. It's going to be an ugly election. And no matter what happens, it's going to be ugly. If we win, if we're going to lose. But we have to maintain, especially if we win, we have to maintain our constitutional system that the Democrats are trying to destroy. We're going to win this election. And just tell these people, it's like, this is a system. It's a constitutional system. And we have to operate in the constitutional system. But Trump said that the Constitution is not a death agreement. It's like, you go in the Constitution no matter what happens. We have to save our country. I believe in the constitutional system. I believe Trump won in 2020, and there's fraud going on, and we have to have a clean, free, fair, clean system of election integrity and representative government. And they don't care about the American people. The left doesn't. All they care about is power and control, and they have to be stopped. We have to maintain freedom, liberty, and justice for all. So I don't think Ernest Bells is on the left side. I don't know that Janice Holt sees the gravity of the situation that we're in. But I'm going to fight, I'm going to win, and I'm going to fight for Texas to keep us free and safe, secure, and prosperous. So vote for Dr. Missick in March 2024. Actually, you should vote, as soon as we have early voting, vote early. So we can have a clear victory for Texas going forward.